Okay, so we're back. We're sitting down with John, Mr. Fischetti.
What's happening?
Our resident bass guru and walk and wade guru. John, let's talk a little bit about bass for this coming month of March. Something you like to get into, right?
Yeah, for sure. So this next month, the fishing will pick up like crazy. It's probably the best month of the year out there in terms of numbers. You know, maybe not the huge fish, but numbers of fish. February, March, April, definitely the best months out there.
Awesome. So we're talking about Shasta Lake. That's where you're gonna do majority of your bass fishing, right?
Yes.
So we're talking about Shasta Lake. Usually you're putting in right there at Jones Valley, so we're talking just like 10-15 minutes out of Redding.
Yep.
Guys gonna meet you, hop on a boat. What type of fishing are we doing out there? Are we
Most of it's going to be float and fly fishing. So we'll be throwing a bobber this time of year.
Yeah.
You know, water temps are cold. Fish are kind of in their wintering mode, wintering spots.
Right.
So they're not, you know, they're a little lethargic. They're not out there chasing stuff around. Right. So fishing that technique right now can be super effective.
Absolutely. So
super
float and
deadly.
fly, just for folks that don't know, we're suspending like bait fish patterns underneath an indicator.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Simple.
Basically just bobber fishing for bass.
Straightforward stuff. So not a whole lot of...
we'll throw some streamers, you know, later spring, you know, as it starts to warm up. We can definitely, you know...
That's not something to really bank on, though, right? Like,
no.
You could get into that for your day, but...
Most of it's going to be the float and fly stuff.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. What about any top water stuff a possibility?
Not really. Yeah. Not until later in the year.
Right, more summertime.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So folks, we're fishing from a boat.
We're fishing from a boat.
Is it like casting intensive? I mean, is there...
No, you know, the bass fishing is a pretty good option for the beginner. I mean, you could take somebody out there that's never fished a day in their life, and they're going to catch fish out there, and they're going to get it. You know, it's not difficult fishing. But, you know, for people that are better anglers, they're going to have an opportunity to catch more fish.
Absolutely.
You know,
like just pretty much the same thing like Anthony and I were just talking about. The same thing for any fishery, right? There's never a skill barrier. Obviously, if you have more experience, there's less to learn to get started, so we can kind of move right into the next step. But for someone who's never even done it before, you could get proficient enough casting and managing line on your first day to at least you're going to get some opportunities to get into
totally. Fish, and the cool thing about Shasta bass fishing out there is it starts to get good. There's an opportunity. It's so many fish in a day that it's a great thing for beginners because you're going to learn, you know, how to set the hook, how to strip line management, how much pressure to have on a fish. You know, all of that stuff where if you're only catching a couple fish in a day, it's hard to like ingrain that stuff. But
it's funny you said. It's exactly what Anthony and I were just talking about, like with the lower sack. Like we don't ever say fishing is bad. Fishing is always fishing. There's certain times a year where you tend to get more opportunities. So everyone's always going to screw things up. There's always going to be mistakes. But if in certain times of year where the opportunities are more abundant, then you're allowed to make more mistakes.
Right, and you're going to learn more.
Yeah,
you know, you're gonna retain a lot more of that knowledge if you have a lot more opportunities.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much Shasta Lake bass fishing. Pretty simple trip, right? You know, people just meet you, hop on the boat, and go.
It's a super fun day. I mean, easy fishing, hop in the boat, go.
It's right next to Redding. It's a good thing to do if you can tack on to a lower sack day or something too. You know, it's right here in Redding.
Totally.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about, I know another place you'd like to spend a good amount of time here this early spring, Pitt River.
The Pitt River is an excellent option for right now. If you want to get out of the boat, if you want to do some walk and wade, if you want to do some, you know, Euro nymphing, it's, you know, high stick, pocket water heaven.
Yeah.
I mean,
let's kind of describe that. So the Pitt River, it's a walk and wade stream. We're not fishing that from a boat. So
no, not at all. It's all walk and wade, and it's not for the faint of heart. The wading. So the wading on the Pitt is literally probably the most difficult wading there is, especially in this area. I mean, if not,
I would tend to agree for sure. I mean,
that I've ever waded. So it's, you know, big, round, slippery, moss covered boulders,
Right.
you know, and you're going to fall. That's part of it. You're going to slip in
Absolutely.
and you're going to get a little wet. It's not life-threatening.
Right.
It's fun. It's kind of part of the appeal
It
of
is
wading
part of
the
the
pit,
appeal
you
to
know.
it. It's the river is in. I mean, there's no easy access. You have to kind of bushwhack to get to the river. And once you are in the river, I don't think I've ever fished the pit a single time and not taken a spill.
Right. I mean, that's part of it.
Right.
You know, this time of year, if it's a little cold, I just make sure people bring an extra change of clothes. You know, if we do fall in, you go take a rest, you know, change clothes, get back after it.
Absolutely.
But the reward of the pit is the fishing itself isn't necessarily super difficult.
Right.
You know, you're going to catch fish. So
Right.
the hard thing about the pit is getting around and wading it. But the rewards are you're going to catch a bunch of fish. And the more that you push it, kind of like the same thing we've been talking about.
Right.
You know, the further that you can push it, so somebody that can wade maybe really well, they're going to catch more fish because they're willing to go wade out to the stuff
Right.
that people aren't willing to go wade out
Absolutely.
to. But for, you know, a beginner, as long as you are, you know, in good shape and you're capable of doing that kind of wading, you're going to catch fish too.
Right. It's nothing to be intimidated about. Right?
No,
Nothing
not at
to-
all. I mean, we bring wading staffs. I bring, you know, 70-year-old dudes down there all the time. As long as they're
Absolutely.
in good enough shape and they're willing to get after it, like, you can do it.
Yep. So when we're talking about the pit, we're talking about kind of heading east a little bit from Reading. You're talking about around an hour's drive. Or
Yeah,
so,
it's
probably.
an hour east of Reading, kind of near Bernie,
Yep.
near Bernie Falls State Park.
And just like most of our rivers, you know, Reading is always a great home base to go fishing there.
Totally.
What about the fish? What are we catching out there?
I'd say it's 95% rainbow trout. The past few years, we're finding more and more browns out there,
Yeah.
but not a lot. Like, don't bank on going there to catch brown trout.
Right.
It's like the you know, anomaly that
Right.
you catch a brown and
Absolutely.
you're stoked when you do. But rainbow trout, I'd say, you know, average fish there is probably more 13 to 15 inch range.
Right.
But you'll catch, you know, some 16 to 18 inch fish once in a while.
Yep.
But like, you're gonna hook a 15-inch fish on the pit. That's gonna,
Right.
you know, you're gonna be like, holy
100%,
shit! I have a
100%.
20-inch fish on, and you
They're-
get it in, and you're like,
They're all
they're studs. all
football
of them.
shaped, fat. Yeah.
Yeah. It's all wild fish. There's no stocking in the pit, which is
Nope.
pretty cool. They tried long time ago. The fish can't survive that they've tried to stock in there because there's a parasite that kills off any non-native fish.
Interesting, yeah.
So the cool thing is the fish that are in the pit are the fish that have been in the pit forever.
That's really cool.
So the rainbows are, you know, super strong, hardy strain of rainbows that's in there.
That's what we love.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of subsurface fishing, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can rarely get some dry fly action, but, you know, I think just because of how fast the river's moving,
Yeah.
the fish just don't tend to kind of come up. That's my feeling. Or that it's just such a healthy
Right.
river that they don't need to expend that energy to come up. So the majority of the fishing is all subsurface. You know, you can use a bobber. And beginners, we tend to put them onto a bobber just
Right.
because it's a little easier to fish. But if you've got some more skills or you want to try and do it, it's literally the perfect place for Euro nymphing.
That's kind of what I would say. I couldn't think of a better river.
It's like tailor-made
Yeah,
for check
to
nymphing,
do
Euro
some
nymphing.
Euro, tight line, whatever you want to call
You know,
it.
if it's something that you already know how to do, you're going to crush it there. And if it's
Absolutely.
something that you want to learn how to do, it's the perfect place
Yeah.
to learn how to check nymph.
That's I would say the same thing. That's probably the perfect river to try some Euro nymphing if you've never done it, or if you have done it, to go do it. But yeah, so on a day fishing the Pit River, probably a little bit of both. Probably be doing some indicator fishing.
Yeah, and I mean, there's
Euro
some
nymphing.
pools that are bigger, and you know, you need to cast further to get across the river.
Right.
You can't really Euro nymph, you know, 30, 40, 50 feet away from you.
Absolutely.
So, you know, there is some stuff where we'll throw the bobber on, and
Definitely. Yeah.
and every once in a while, you know, you'll get a hatch in there. It's pretty rare. You know, you can also, you know, throw dry dropper. It works well early spring to late spring if you get some warmer days. You know,
Cool.
you can definitely fish the shallow stuff dry dropper. So
Yeah.
it's got everything.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. I think that about covers the Pit River, and that kind of covers everything we got for you here talking about our early spring fishing, guys. So John, appreciate your time.
Stoked to have it.
Yeah, cool. Take care, guys.
Right on.